A Little Bit Scary, written by Jill Davies, illustrated by Gill. This is the title page. Introduction. There's no such thing as monsters. You just dream of them at night. That's what people tell me, but are they really right? Witches don't exist at all. That's what my mother said. So who is it that snores and cackles underneath my bed? And who's the creature in the closet, all fat and pink and floppy? He has 6 arms which wave at me, and a smile that's wet and soppy. And then there is the yellow thing who peeps around my door. I can only see one hairy arm and a curve of orange claw. The purple beastie with green eyes hangs by the window pane. His face is long and stretched and sad, eyes weeping with the rain. The tiny fluffy ghost is shy. She hides behind the clock. She jumps up every time it chimes, hiccuping with shock. Who says there are no monsters? I have met them many times. Along with countless ghosts and ghouls who live inside my rhymes. The Monster with 5 Noses. Next time you have a cough or cold, it's not as bad as one supposes. Just think of how terrible it must be for the monster with 5 noses. He has a lot of handkerchiefs to wave about his face, but he never knows in time which nose will achoo around the place. The monster with 5 noses has hands that number 4, so although he wipes his noses, there is always just one more. So next time you have a cough or cold, we hope you'll sympathize with that sorry sneezy creature whose nose is number 5. Werewolf. When Werewolf goes out on the town, he wears a dinner suit, and he likes it if you scratch his ears and tell him he is cute. The werewolf never knows if he will be a dog or man, so deciding what to feed him can be difficult to plan. Sometimes he fancies bones, and sometimes eggs and peas. And if you peek when saying grace, you may catch him scratching fleas. Sometimes he eats with a knife and fork, but he might dip in a claw. And you don't know if he'll shake your hand or raise a hairy paw. The Witch Who Lost Her Broomstick. The witch who lost her broomstick was worried she'd be late. It was Halloween and the evening when the witches congregate. The witch who lost her broomstick did not want to miss the fun. She could hear the others laughing and knew the party had begun. So she flew off on a vacuum with a dust bag at her rear. The others said she's crazy, but she pretended not to hear. The witch upon the vacuum said, "There are those who laugh and titter, but I fly much faster than before, and I've sucked up all the litter." The Gigantic Monster. When the gigantic monster came to stay, we offered him a bath. "That's far too small for me," he said, and gave a cheery laugh. "In the country where I come from, I have a lake that's very deep. I need a lot more water than your bath could ever keep." So we took him to the swimming pool, and he filled it on his own. When he nosedived through the water, it reminded me of home. While we rubbed him dry with towels, he sang a song that made me cry, of purple hills and caves and water deeper than the sky. The Apologetic Ghost. The ghost who took his head off was really most polite. He said, I do not mean to give anyone a fright. I only walk through walls because it is easier to do than opening those silly doors and trying to squeeze through. I only disappear because, in fact, I'm rather shy. When people start to stare at me, I blush and fade and fly. I do not mean to groan and wail and scare my friends away. It's just that when I talk, my voice gurgles out that way. The ghost who took his head off said, It isn't so alarming. I do smile beneath my armpit, and I'm trying to be charming. Emma's Wriggly Monster. When Emma found the wriggly monster, she hid it in her bed. What are those bumps beneath the quilt? Her curious father said. Oh, Daddy, they're just my knees, said Emma with a smile, and hoped the wriggly monster would stay still for a while. When Father left, the monster laughed, then wriggled out and said, You'd better check if I have left any squiggles in the bed. I have so many twists and turns and loops at different angles. I'll unknot you, Emma said, unraveling the tangles. The Vampire with False Teeth. The vampire with false teeth found it hard to bite. His false fangs always wobbled, so he couldn't hang on tight. And when he went out flying, his bat wings stretched to soar, the fangs kept falling out and dropping on the floor. The vampire with false teeth retired into his coffin space. If I lie down, he said, my fangs stay in their proper place. Mr. Squidge. Whenever I am bored, I go down below the bridge and talked to my best friend, whose name is Mr. Squidge. Mr. Squidge has long green hair, right down to his dangly toes, and peeping out from underneath, a bulbous, warty nose. But today he said, I can't decide if trolls should cut their hair. Mine gets in an awful mess, with tangles everywhere. So I took him for a haircut and a blow-dry and a style. It shows off his squashy, wrinkled face and his odd, lopsided smile. Skeletons. In the middle of the night, when the moon is sailing high, the skeletons wake up. Let's have a ball, they cry. Boney plays the double bass. A guitar rattles strums. Ribs dances with his castanets, while Sternum plays the drums. The skeletons like rock and roll and a good old-fashioned twist. They congo around the gravestones and tango in the mist. Then when the dawn comes streaking, they pause to catch their breath and say, what a fantastic time, the best night of our death. Little yucky squidgy things. I'm not afraid of giant things or great big dinosaurs. Tyrannosaurus Rex is sweet, and so are sharks like Jaws. It's little squidgy running things that make me ill at ease, like spiders, ants, and beetles, and leggy centipedes. I should happily invite an ugly ogress in the house, but never, never, never a yucky cockroach or a mouse. Frankenstein's monster. The monster made by Frankenstein likes new clothes to wear, but when he goes out shopping, he says, it isn't fair. My trousers are too short. My jacket's badly split. I'd like designer running shoes, but nothing seems to fit. I undress in the changing room. Folks stare and wonder whether I'll catch my shirt upon the bolt that holds my neck together. I'd like to be a modern man in a t-shirt and blue jeans. I'll have cosmetic surgery to tidy up my seams. Glugs. There's a family of monster glugs who live inside my home. You can hear them splash and gurgle as around the pipes they roam. And when you pull the plug out, they glug up in a rush, wanting to be first to ride the soapy, swirly gush. Sometimes you hear one moaning, but they mostly laugh and sing. They make a high-pitched whistle when they have a gluggy fling. If you turn the taps off quickly, it gives them quite a shock. You hear them fall about and bang as on the pipes they knock. I've never actually seen a glug, however hard I stare, up taps and down the plug hole, but I can hear them giggling there. Ghost Train. The ghost train is coming. The ghost train is coming. In the distance it whistles twice. Then you hear a rumble humming, roaring, rushing, tumble, drumming, as the night is as cold as ice. There's a sudden gush of steam, and the window spotted gleam like a caterpillar on the rails. With its ghosts and ghouls it races, phantom drivers without faces, as it hisses and roars and wails. Then suddenly it's gone. There is a darkness where it shone. On its steamy, eerie midnight ride, train spotting can be fun, but do not ever spot this one. It is better to run and hide. Mixing spells. The witch is stirring her cauldron. It is full of all sorts of things, spiders and lizards and worms, and a bug with water wings. The water is boiling hot today, says Newt, who slips over the slide, as beetles and bats and big whiskered rats scuttle away and hide. When she needs some extra magic, the witch makes special spells. She pours in bottles of magic till the cauldron bubbles and swells. She finds cobwebs from the dungeon, a toad with a crinkled smile, snakes that slither and spit, snapping crocodiles from the Nile. Waving her wand, she stirs the cauldron and dances and shrieks and cackles, as lizards and worms tumble and squirm and swim as the fire crackles. Mr. Hunchback. Mr. Hunchback lives in Notre Dame and haunts the great high tower with his friends the stony gargoyles who grimace, scowl, and glower. Sometimes in the Paris night you hear the great bells chime. You know that Mr. Hunchback is having a swinging time. He hangs about the belfry and sways at dizzy heights, saying ding dong, swinging, ringing, livens up my nights. Messy Monster. Your bedroom is chaotic, my angry mother said. Dirty plates and toys and jeans are heaped upon the bed. Then I knew the messy monster must have paid a visit. Whenever he has been around, my room looks like a bomb has hit it. He slides clothes from off their hangers and jumbles every drawer. He tangles socks and scatters shoes and books across the floor. He never puts my toys away, but mother says, "What rot! You are the only monster that this messy room has got." But I could never make that mess so much, so fast, so well. The messy monster's been again to visit, I can tell. Giant writing. I should like to meet a giant, not the nasty ogre kind, but a kind and gentle giant. You know the sort I have in mind. He would lift me on his shoulder and skip right over hills. I'm sure that giant writing must be one of life's great thrills. Up high I'd hang on tightly, while his boots with just one stride would step across the ocean to countries on the other side. At last he'd bring me home again and set me gently down, then wink and smile and in one leap jump right across the town. Blind date. Mr. Cyclops only had one eye, and so he wondered whether Medusa might not fancy him when they had a date together. Now Medusa, she was worried too, for although she looked quite stunning, her head was full of hissing snakes, which sent most suitors running. Mr. Cyclops said, "Medusa, dear, I find it hard to focus, but I think those rollers in your hair are trying to provoke us." "Oh, you're divine," Musa drooled. "Blind dates I have been missing. You and I, my one-eyed sigh, should spend the whole night kissing." Where have all the monsters gone? They don't make gruesome monsters like they used to anymore. There are no ogres shopping in the supermarket store. You never see a hairy beastie jogging down the road, and it must be ages since a witch turned you, or me, into a toad. There are no ghosts or goblins, not even in the dark, and I've yet to meet a bandaged mummy strolling through the park. Are all the vampires pensioned off? Are the big bad wolves annoyed? Do the things and its from outer space mind being unemployed? Now you don't meet gruesome monsters. Don't meet gruesome monsters. They are very rare today. But beware, for rumor has it, a revival's on the way. The end.